which means we're getting dangerously close to Che finding out.
He won't find out.
He better not, because I for damn sure am not gonna lose what we built for no damn body.
Now, last week I asked a question around whether Season 3 was gearing up for Tommy versus Diamond, but this week we're going to take a look at the perspective from the other brother, Jenard, Tommy versus Jenard, because the clues have always been there since Season 1, but we're now at a point where the CBI are back on top, and Tommy may have helped them to get back on the map, but we're at a point where people are beginning to question some of his methods. Diamond's starting to question things, making moves behind his back, so is Jenard, he's still constantly planting seeds, but also those within his coalition, and that definitely isn't a good sign. When you're starting to lose the trust of your crew, you're skating on very thin ice. I do also think they foreshadowed Tommy being on his own, becoming that lone wolf, along with the mistake that he made with bringing Mateo's head to the meeting right at the end. So the question I'm actually going to be asking in this particular breakdown, is Jenard's hatred for Tommy actually warranted, and what happens next? Does Jenard actually have a case, or is Tommy right in speaking to him and treating him like a child? I will be going through both arguments. I will be taking an unbiased approach, one for Tommy and also one for Jenard. Again, as I also referenced last week, this is one of many triangles across Force, and one person will be losing out in all the various triangles that we do see in Force Season 3. So mixed in this situation is also Diamond, and I will give my opinion on who I think loses out in the end as well. But first up, I want to have a look at how Tommy was actually the one who helped put CBI back on the map.
Everything you do brings danger to our doorstep, Tommy.
Take that bass out your voice, Jay.
Now, one of Jenard's arguments that we're going to come to in just a moment is that he held down the CBI for 15 years while Diamond was in prison, which is fine. We are going to discuss that argument in just a moment. But ever since Tommy strolled into Chicago in Season 1, he not only struck up that partnership with Diamond, he made things happen for the CBI that Jenard couldn't and didn't while he was in charge for those 15 years. When Tommy came in, Jenard was making backyard deals with the Yardies. When Tommy came in, he wasn't scared of being in a new hostile environment. He wasn't scared of any crew that he interacted with or people who tried to intimidate him and run him out the city, just like Walter Flynn. He made things happen quick to get the CBI back on top. Hitting Miguel Garcia's product and making it look like the Serbians were the ones who were behind it back in Season 2. That was the moment that got them on their way early in Season 2. Building the relationship and connect with Shay. It does take big balls to go and do what Tommy did back in Season 2. He went over Miguel's head not just once, but twice, and went straight over to build that relationship with Shay. Even at Miguel's grandmother's funeral, business had to be discussed, which Diamond would never have done, as he once told Walter Flynn back in Season 1.
Balls will get you through the door, brains will keep you in the room. And now that I'm in the room, fuck you gonna do about it?
Balls will get you through the door, but it's the brains that will keep you in the room. And this is what Tommy's shown for majority of his time since he's been in Chicago. He's shown balls that's got him through the door with the likes of the CBI or when he started to build that relationship with Shay, but it's also his brains that have kept him in the room. This is something that Diamond would never have done without Tommy. They would never have been able to go straight to the connect. Again, his plans, his strategies, that's what's helped put CBI back on top. Getting rid of the Marquez cartel, the Serbians and Claudia Flynn all in one hit right at the end of Season 2, although on the cartel we'll come to them just in a moment. Another example from this recent season, when it was said that Shay was back in Mexico, the first thing Tommy thought of was, let's go after the Albanians, even though Miguel had them locked up. His idea was to create a demand and supply problem, starve the insane princes of product and then go swoop up the Albanians and all the other crews that the Serbs used to supply. Tommy thinks, acts, behaves and moves very quick. He makes things happen quick. He's always been very ambitious by nature, and because of Tommy's balls and brains, because he makes things happen quick, that's the reason why the CBI are back on top. And Diamond has actually realised that. He told Jenard in the conversation that they had in the CBI barbershop basement, without Tommy, the CBI wouldn't be where they are, which is definitely true. Tommy has helped put the CBI back on top. Even though blood has been spilled, and we'll get to the blood in just a moment, because there are a few moves that Tommy has made which you can definitely question as well. As I mentioned before, we're not just going to look at this from one lens. Tommy has made questionable decisions, which we definitely will go through, but you can't argue that Tommy is one of the main reasons why the CBI are where they are. He made things happen quick. He's the one who helped them get in with Shay. He has the balls and he has the brains. However, I am going to leave you guys with a question just to ponder while we move over to Jenard. Even though Tommy got them to the position that they're in, does it mean that he's the right man to lead them forward? Think about your favourite football team or maybe another one. The manager may have done a great job in getting you to the position you're in. You may have been bottom of the league fighting for scraps just like the CBI were. He's managed to get you close to the top. But has his time run its course? And is it the right time for a new leader? Because he's now making questionable decisions. Whether that's the right decision or not, that's irrelevant. Is that what the players, or in this instance, the coalition, think? Do the players in the coalition believe that Tommy is the cause of all these problems? Because if they do, then they stop playing for you and they stop working for you, especially after they learn about Chavo and the DSDs. Now on Jenard, we do have to remember he did give a bit of backstory in conversation with Elijah back in season 1. He mentioned that he gave up his future, he had plans to go to an Ivy League college, but that all went out the window when Diamond went inside. Diamond then passed the reins over to Jenard, and he held down the CBI while Diamond was in prison. He held the CBI down for 15 years while other crews fell apart, only for an outsider to then come in and push him down the pecking order. Just imagine someone coming from New York, an outsider coming in and taking over the CBI. The CBI wasn't exactly in a great spot, and we had Jenard making backyard deals with people like the Yardies. But Jenard was the one who managed to help them stay together. That's his argument. Chris Lofton was also on the Breakfast Club, and he said, look, Jenard doesn't actually know anything that happened back in New York. Those 6 seasons of power, Jenard doesn't know any of that. For all he knows, Tommy could just be a cop working undercover. Now, just going back to the question I just asked around whether it's time for a new leader, I do think the CBI did need Tommy at the time, because Jenard did take them as far as he could. As much as he kept them together, there was no real growth from the CBI. Jenard was also behaving like a bit of a child in season 1 and 2, and the way Tommy treats him at times is probably warranted. He was grimy, he did things and made calls behind Diamond's back, he tried to take his own brother out, you only have to look at the conversation that he's recently had with Shanti, he also went after Tommy a number of times, and he also turned into a junkie and a liability in season 2. But at the same time, he did step in and calm the situation down at the end of season 3 episode 2 with their coalition, at a time where they weren't exactly responding to Tommy's ways. Jenard stepped in and smoothed things over with Chavo, the DSDs, and everybody else, because he's Chicago born and bred. He knows how these guys work, he knows what they respond to. Now, instead of Tommy thanking him, he tried to little bro him and put him back in his place. He told him, next time, let the adults deal with it. And that's what pissed Jenard off. In my breakdown for episode 2, I did mention he's been speaking to Jenard like he's a bit of a child. He's also been giving him errand boy duties, which you can argue he probably deserves, but at the same time, if Jenard didn't step in the way he did, would the coalition have fell in line? Jenard was also right when he said a lot of bodies have fallen because of Tommy's actions. That goes back to one of the first moves they made against the Serbs, when Jenard lost Elijah, all the way to killing Chewie at the beginning of season 2 episode 1, when Diamond told Tommy that would create a war. A lot of shit that the CBI have been through is Tommy's fault. His ambition, his hunger to be at the top of the game and to be the only connect in Chicago has meant that a lot of bodies have dropped. At the same time, they all know what they signed up for and they all know the rules of the game. You can't get to the top without blood being spilled, so it's a catch-22. I guess the real problem that they have now is none of these guys want to go up against a Mexican cartel because of Tommy. Tommy bringing in the head of Mateo, I don't think that was the right move either. All it takes is the entire coalition to step to Shay and say, look, we're happy to continue business as usual, but we now work for Jenard and Diamond. Just like Kanan had Tommy and Ghost's entire network ready to deliver to Felipe Lobos back in season 2. If he stepped to Felipe Lobos at the end of season 2 with his entire network ready to work for Kanan, Felipe Lobos would have probably killed Tommy and Ghost then gone with Kanan. At this moment in time, Diamond doesn't have that relationship built with Shay. He said he was working on it, and he still respects what Tommy's done for his organization. But is he now also starting to question Tommy as well? Was Diamond looking on at Jenard when he gave his speech to the rest of the coalition thinking, yeah, now that my brother's got his shit together, he's ready to step up. He might have not been ready to step up before, but the way he handled the situation and got everybody back under control, maybe Jenard is a guy to have by my side going forward, especially with the way Tommy's been treating Diamond. The way he was giving him orders in episode 1, the way he told him to sit Vic Flynn down in the chair in episode 2, it was Tommy giving orders to Diamond as if he was his number 2. Joseph Sikora did also do an interview with The Vulture earlier this month, and he did mention that quote where Ghost said to him, "We're two men with one voice."
So people don't ask me what I think. They ask what you think. We're two men, but we speak with one voice.
Now, that was Ghost referring to Tommy as an equal, as a partner. Whether I go and see Ruiz or whether you go and speak to him, we have the same voice. But back in Power, Tommy never really had the respect that Ghost did, and he did recognize that. The reason why I brought up Ruiz is because he was one of them. When Tommy said that he let them run guns, the first thing Ruiz said was Ghost would never go for that. But why wasn't Tommy's word enough? He was never seen as an equal, more as Ghost number 2. And that's how Tommy's now been treating Diamond. The way Tommy's moving is the way Ghost moved towards the end of Power. tunnel vision, focus on his own goals and ambitions, keeping things from Diamond and making moves and calls without his partner's say so or input, putting other things first such as his relationship with Maria. And I'm definitely not defending Diamond. I've already been through the shit that Diamond's done behind Tommy's back as well. But those who haven't seen the Tommy versus Diamond breakdown, I do go through both perspectives. But we can't overlook the fact that Tommy is moving very ghost-like from the later seasons of Power. And it is getting to the point where Diamond is sick of it. He's already teetering on the edge because we know he's made that call on DMAC. If he was more on a level with Tommy, then he would never have made that call. He would have thought, nah, Tommy is my business partner, I have to tell him. But even he's sick of the way Tommy's been moving, and even he warned him way back in episode 1 as well, and also warned him again right at the end of episode 2. So where do we stand going forward? Diamond said he isn't ready to lose what they've built for anyone, and if it means kicking Tommy out the CBI, I genuinely do think that call will be made pretty soon. It's just that Diamond doesn't have that relationship built with Shay at this moment in time. But again, going back to the Kanan example, if he has this whole coalition under him and Jenard by his side, and he takes this to Shay, if he tells Shay that Tommy's the reason why we're in a war with the Marquez cartel, what will Shay think? If and when he does, I do think that call will be made. We're now seeing Jenard step up. The Marquez cartel retaliated and took out Chavo and the DSDs. The rest of the coalition are going to be asking questions, and I do think Tommy's methods that work back in New York, some of them aren't going to work here in Chicago. His balls and brains have helped him to get into the position that he's in, but was taking Mateo's head to the rest of the coalition the right move at that time? I think this getting back to Shay, the coalition turning, and especially Jenard stepping up, that's all going to go against Tommy at some point. I do think the way Jenard has played it, him stepping up and him calming the situation down, Jenard is back on the right track. Even Joseph Sikora teased, Tommy will be in trouble. The problem that Tommy has at this moment in time, the theme does seem to be blood is thicker than water. And that's one of Tommy's biggest problems going forward. Diamond will be picking Jenard. Jenard will also pick Diamond eventually and betray Shanti, I have no doubt he will. And Shanti is also another character who's also in the mix. We need to figure out what Shanti's plan is here and whether this is a part of her and Jenard's plan, or whether Shanti is playing her own game behind Jenard's back. Throughout this whole breakdown, we haven't even spoken about when Tommy finds out Diamond called a hit on DMAC. That's another issue entirely, and that's another issue that will also put a wedge between him and Diamond, and effectively the CBI. But the bottom line is, the clues are there. They've already foreshadowed Tommy being on his own, becoming that lone wolf, and at some point in the next few episodes, or maybe after episode 5, I can see him being kicked out of the CBI. And the loser in the triangle between Tommy, Jenard and Diamond, in my opinion, will be Tommy. But the floor is now yours. Drop all your thoughts down below in the comment section on how you see this playing going forward. And does Jenard have every right to be angry with the way Tommy's been treating him? Or do you believe Tommy is actually in the right? Drop all your thoughts down below in the comment section. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.